Yo, what's going on, guys? Toxico Serial, welcome back to another Brawl Stars video. I know, I'm sorry, it's been a very long time. I just don't know what the heck to upload, and I've been kind of waiting for the meta to develop, and for other people's opinions on all the hypercharges, especially with just the change on a lot of them. But now I feel like I have a good grasp on what the heck is meta and what is not meta. So, without further ado, let's just get into the video. Once again, I am sorry for not uploading, but that's because I was waiting for the meta, and I don't know what to upload. I'm kind of getting bored out of YouTube, but that's definitely something I need to fix because I'm pretty popular, I would say. I became a lot more popular over the past like 3-ish months. So, I need to continue to upload, maybe not every day, but I need to get like 3 videos a week. So, starting off with the Bulls Hypercharge. Bulls Hypercharge, I think it's okay. Like, it's not like completely game breaking. If you time it right though, you get insane value and can just demolish anybody. But at the same time, you only get 5 seconds to do it. And Bull's Hypercharge isn't that hard to cycle. You get it from taking damage. And then once you get onto somebody with your first super, you can get another super. And you're pretty much almost to a Hypercharge already. So, decent Hypercharge. I'm going to put it at the top of C tier. Next up, we have Spike's Hypercharge. And Spike's Hypercharge is still good. It definitely got a few nerfs. It takes a little bit longer to cycle now. But also, the shield got nerfed from, I don't know what it was before, but now it's only 5%. And Spike, he's a squishy brawler, so you need that shield. Otherwise, he's going to die if you play aggro, which I feel like a lot of the time you play aggro when you use Spike's Hypercharge, because you just want to make sure you kill as many people as possible if you get them trapped in your super. It's still a good Hypercharge. I don't think it's as strong, though, as it once was. It's going to be in the A tier, but it's not the S tier anymore. Next up, we have Charlie's Hypercharge, and Charlie's Hypercharge got a few buffs. It takes less to cycle, and it's okay. It's okay. Like, all it does is spawns 3 spiders. They're not really that great. Plus, the spider's gadget being nerfed also indirectly nerfs the Hypercharge. But the fact that you get it every other super, less than every other super, basically, is very, very strong. So, I think it bumps it out of the F tier, but it's still not a great Hypercharge. Next up, we have Pearl's Hypercharge. And this Hypercharge got nerfed multiple times. It's still one of the worst Hypercharges easily, so it's staying in the F tier. Next up, we have Colt's Hypercharge, and Colt's Hypercharge is okay. I mainly use it for the damage. You don't really use it for connecting your super more, because I feel like already Colt's super isn't that hard to hit, but it just makes it wider. So for me, it's going to stay in the C tier, which I think was where I put it last time. It might have been in the B tier, but I would put Bulls a little higher. Next up, we have Jesse's Hypercharge, and Jesse's Hypercharge is mad underrated right now. It takes only 1.67 Hypercharges or supers to get, which is insane. It's every other super. Plus, that thing is so tanky that by the time the Hypercharge runs out, you already have another Hypercharge already being cycled. It's insane. Jesse's Hypercharge is very strong right now, and I'm going to put it up in the A tier, above Spike's. I think it's such a good Hypercharge right now. Next up, we have Lou's Hypercharge, and Lou's Hypercharge is still quite strong. I don't think it's nearly as strong as what it once was, but it's still a very strong Hypercharge nonetheless. So for me, I think it drops out of S tier just because that nerf to the Supercharge right definitely makes it harder to cycle, but it's still a guaranteed kill for anybody in it. So I'm going to put it all the way at the top of A tier. Next up is Colette's Hypercharge, and Colette's Hypercharge for me is easily one of the best Hypercharges. It's going on the S tier. I think this Hypercharge needs a nerf. Like, that Spirit should not deal the same damage as Colette does. It makes no sense because she's dealing double damage to any target with a Hypercharge, and plus you get it almost every other super. Because most of the time with Colette, you probably won't super after the first 4. Usually you do, but sometimes you'll get a 5th hit, maybe even a 6th before utilizing her super. I don't know how you play Colette, but this Hypercharge needs to get nerfed. I think it's just way too high. Too much value for a brawler like Colette. She does 25% damage to the high safe and can basically one-shot any brawler. Next up, we have Jackie's Hypercharge. And Jackie's Hypercharge is still very strong. Didn't really get a cycle nerf. However, it did get a damage nerf, and it no longer deals as much damage as she does. Still a good Hypercharge, but I don't think it's in the S tier anymore. So I'm going to put it in the A tier right above Spike's, but below Jesse's. Next up, we have Maisie's Hypercharge. And Maisie's Hypercharge is a little bit harder to cycle as well. The only thing is, though, is still very good for team wipes because you get the movement speed buff, you get the damage buff, which I think on Maisie is just mega brutal. So it's still going to, I don't think it's S tier anymore. I put it in the S+. I don't have an S+ tier, but I'm going to put it in the A tier, below Lou's, but above Jesse's. Still very good Hypercharge. Next up, we have Shelly's Hypercharge. And Shelly's Hypercharge kind of sucks. It's not good really at all. All it does is it just makes her super wider, plus it's harder to cycle, and you don't get as much benefit from it because you don't recycle it with the Hyper. Charging up the super doesn't extend the Hypercharge timer, and this just makes the Hypercharge even worse. Like, Shelly kind of needed it, and her Hypercharge already wasn't that great, but now I think it's just, like, terrible. I don't think it's F tier, but it's going to go below Charlie's in D tier. Next up, we have Rosa's Hypercharge, and I think Rosa's Hypercharge is quite balanced. I don't think it's strong, but I don't think it's weak. Like, it's pretty good, because it gives her the speed buff and the shield buff, and it's just hard to kill her. However, it does take her some time to cycle it with that recent Supercharge rate nerf. I think it's still a balanced Hypercharge, so I'm going to put it in the B tier. Next up, we have Fang's Hypercharge, and even though Fang only will get one Hypercharge in a game, that Hypercharge team wipes every single time, and that's literally all you need, is that one Hypercharge. Sometimes maybe you can get two. It does take a while to cycle it, and I don't care. It's still in the S tier. I'm going to put it above Colette's. Next up, we have Crow's Hypercharge, and a lot of people think Crow's Hypercharge is strong, and a lot of people think it's overrated. I actually think Crow's Hypercharge is quite strong. I don't think it's completely busted, because it did get the same buff Justy's got, and it takes 1.66 Hypercharge to get. The only thing about Crow is he's squishy and he's jumping on everybody. I've gotten team wipes with this Hypercharge, but I don't think it happens all the time. I actually like this Hypercharge, so I'm going to put it in the B tier, but I'm going to put it below Rosa's. Next up, we have Edgar's Hypercharge, and even though Let's Fly no longer charges it, it still is easily one of the best Hypercharges in the game, no question. It's going in the S tier. It's going to be the number one. It's going to be at the number one spot. It's such a strong Hypercharge. Edgar will get a team wipe almost every time with it, and you can cycle maybe 2, even 3 in a game. Next up, we have Dynamite's Hypercharge. And even though it got a nerf, it takes 3.33 supers to get. God, the damage is absurd. And then you have the little TNTs that come out of the Hypercharge, was also charged to super. It's so strong. You can throw 3, 4, and 5v5. I used to throw like 5 of these things. It was insane. I would team wipe so easily. So for me, it's going to go above Fangs. It's such a goddamn strong Hypercharge. Next up, we have Miko's Hypercharge. And this Hypercharge, I like playing Miko, but this Hypercharge is terrible. It did get a buff. I don't know if anybody noticed, but it only takes, it's every other super now, which I do like, and that stun, it's okay. I don't think it helps him too much, but most of the time you can just pop the super, or pop the Hypercharge, and then get a couple attacks off that deal great damage, and then super. That way, when you land, you still get the stun off. I don't think it's as bad as what people say. I'm not putting it in the F tier. I'm going to put it all the way in the bottom of D tier, though. It's not a great Hypercharge. Next up, we have Leon's Hypercharge, and everybody knows how broken Leon is right now. His Hypercharge is just running the meta. Leon is literally everywhere. He's the best brawler in the game by far, and he has easily the best Hypercharge in the game. So it's going in the S tier. It's taking the number 1 spot. Now we have the 6 new Hypercharges, and these Hypercharges, in my opinion, majority of them are kind of trash. I will not lie. But starting off with Cordelius' Hypercharge, I think this one arguably is the best one. I'm not going to lie. I have this Hypercharge, and it's absolutely brutal. Like, that slow is so brutal for anybody that gets put in the Shadow Realm. However, it does take a long time to cycle. But the thing I do like about it is that if you have a fully charged super, you still get the radius still charges it. So you can tell if somebody's in a bush with a Hypercharge. I feel like that's kind of an OP feature. And I don't know if they're going to change that, but I think that's quite broken in my opinion. The fact that you have a super but can still scout the grass with a Hypercharge charge is quite strong. So I'm going to put it up in the A tier, above Jackie's, but below Jessie's. Next up, we have Buzz's Hypercharge. And Buzz's Hypercharge, it takes a little bit of skill to use it now because you can't stun lock people. It only will continue giving a super if you hit a wall, which is a very strong feature because he can just dash across the map like crazy. However, you can't, it's really hard to team wipe. Just for the mobility, though, it's a very strong Hypercharge, so it's going to go above Jessie's, below Maisie's. Next up, we have El Primo's Hypercharge, and this one is kind of overrated, in my opinion. It takes a long time to cycle, and I don't think it's even that great. Like, it's okay, but honestly, I think this is one of the, like a bottom 3 Hypercharge out of the new ones. I don't think this Hypercharge offers that crazy value, so I'm going to put it all the way in the top of C tier. I don't particularly like this Hypercharge on Primo. Next up, we have Belle's Hypercharge, and Belle's Hypercharge is so lame and boring, and it's not even, it's okay, because the thing about Belle's Hypercharge is, it's every other super, it takes 10 hits to get it, and it's a guaranteed hit with her super, and if you suck at hitting Belle supers like I do, I would say it's a win-win because honestly, I don't know why I cannot hit Bell Supers at all. I mean, if you're going against a tank, then you can hit it. It's an auto aim, but at long range, it's actually a decent hypercharge, and the damage actually is decent. However, I just wish there was something else. Like, there's nothing to this hypercharge, so I'm not gonna put it in F tier, which might surprise a lot of you people, but it's got to be at the bottom of D tier. Next up is Sprout's Hypercharge, and this was the first Hypercharge out of the new 6 I got, and God, this Hypercharge is so bad. It's so bad. It's the worst one by far. It's not even close. This Hypercharge, the only thing it's good for is Heist. If you get a Hypercharge Super on the Heist, and then get the Gadget off, that's 50% damage with the Hypercharge. The only problem is, who in the hell plays Sprout in Heist? His main attack deals no damage. It's not just about his Super and his Hypercharge, because the reason you play Sprout is to block off a lot of choke points using his super and to counter certain longer range archetypes without other throwers and assassins. That's the only way you can play Sprout. You can't play Sprout anywhere else. You can't really play Sprout in Heist because there's so much aggro and Sprout's just going to die. Like, it's very base race. Sprout needs to build up his Hypercharge. It only takes him 10 hits to get, and I don't think Sprout's shots are that hard to hit. But at the same time, you gotta get to the Heist safe, which is basically impossible to do with Sprout. So it's the worst Hypercharge in my opinion. By far, it's not even close. And then the final Hypercharge in the list is BB's Hypercharge. Now, this one's a hit or miss for me. Like, I don't think this Hypercharge offers crazy value, but some clips I've seen just team wipe so easily. And the thing about this Hypercharge is it's so quick to cycle. So I think this Hypercharge has very strong potential. I'm not 100% certain on it, though, but based on what I've seen, it seems like it's going at the top of A tier. It seems like a very strong Hypercharge on BB. The team-wipe potential is very strong. I think this is probably the best Hypercharge out of all of them. That, Buzzes, or Cordelius, they're all pretty close. Like, all of the A tier ones are really strong. All of the S tier ones are really strong. B tier is, like, up there, but not crazy. And then C, D, and F are, like, who cares? They're just Hypercharges. And then, yeah, but that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you agree or disagree, but I think I nailed this list pretty well. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time.